So now we're going to talk a little bit more about network strategies. Now, those of you that have already watched my videos on the stakeholder model, this is going to be just a refresher. Okay? Network-based strategies imply establishing relations with selected actors beyond the arm's length transaction. So keeping your stakeholders close and establishing relations of mutual trust. Of course, the questions are, who do you establish relationships with within your network? What common objectives do you pursue? What factors are going to impact these relationships? And how should these relationships be arranged? Those are all questions you have to ask. Those are the tough ones. Now, if you're not sure about who these actors are and the objectives, again, draw a simple stakeholder map. That will take care of it. And we talk about the 6 L's. Okay? These are what we call relational objectives. So you work with your stakeholders, also known as relational actors, and then you generate a relational objective, i.e. something that you get or some benefit that you have by working together. So this is the 6L approach. So if you were looking at something from a resource-based view of a relational objective, you've got learning and lending. Okay? Learning and lending from resources. So you've got a firm in your network, they have some sort of a special knowledge to offer you, or maybe you have some sort of special knowledge to offer them. You exchange knowledge. You exchange managerial know-how. You exchange educational competencies, learning. But then there's also the lending, and that can be exchanging manpower. That can be exchanging resources or facilities. So that's a reason to have a firm in your network and to engage in some sort of a network level strategy. These are 2 benefits. Okay? But maybe it's also activities. And that's linking and lumping. So linking is the idea that, again, remember we talked about resource-based view and we typically think of those things within a firm? Okay? That's exactly what you're doing. You're linking resources across a firm in order to generate some sort of a relation objective. Hey, you've got one part of the value chain. Hey, I've got the other part of the value chain. Let's work together and create value for both of us. Lumping, we typically think of generating some sort of an economy of scale. Okay, we pool our resources together, we get an economy of scale. And then you've also got leaning and lobbying. Okay? And that's when we start talking about things like a product offering. Okay? So leaning and lobbying, basically, do you remember we talked about in the 5 forces model where you've got bargaining power of suppliers and customers, kind of like that? Leaning is when you work together to reduce the bargaining power of another party, customers, suppliers, other firms, whatever. And of course, lobbying is making your position known. So maybe through shared marketing costs, or also, of course, in the more conventional sense of lobbying, going to a government official to ease regulations and that kind of stuff. So making your voice a little more known. I've got a whole module on business and politics if you'd like to know more about lobbying. So there's a couple final notes on the stakeholder model. Again, I've already talked about this before, so I'm going to go through it relatively quickly. But you're basically looking at the configuration of external actors with which the organization interacts, and you try to do that in such a way that's favorable to your corporation, certainly, but hopefully it's also creating some sort of shared value with the other stakeholders. All the stakeholders should be contributing to the value chain in some way, and of course they're all going to expect a share of the value that's created. Again, you want to have some sort of a balance of power between stakeholders. But network-based strategy looks at how do we generate the maximum amount of value across the entire network of our stakeholders. And again, if you get thoroughly embedded in the network, it's true that network strategy is about generating maximum value for the network, but you still have your own firm if you look at it from the discrete organizational perspective. And if you wish to generate maximum value for your firm from the network, you need to reduce your firm's dependence on other firms, increase other firms or other actors or other stakeholders' dependence on your firm, and of course, you also use your network-based approach to improve the firm's image or goodwill. So what I'm going to do in the next videos is look at assessing relative power, relational arrangements, and then we'll start moving on to clusters. So I'm looking forward to seeing you then.